In the heart of a forgotten African village where cracked earth kissed the tired souls of barefooted children and every sunrise was a silent prayer for survival, lived a young orphan girl named Nia. A girl no older than 17, with eyes that reflected a depth of sorrow no child should bear, and a voice so tender it could calm raging storms. Life had been cruel to her. Her mother, a singer at the local chapel, had died giving birth to her, and her father had vanished into the city long before that, never to return. Left behind with nothing but a broken mud hut and her mother's worn-out scarf, Nia learned early on that survival wasn't promised. It was earned. She sang for scraps at funerals, weddings, and in the market, her angelic voice echoing through the dusty streets like a whisper from heaven. Villagers said her voice carried healing, some said it came from her mother's spirit, but Nia never believed in miracles. Not until the day a convoy of black jeeps roared into her village, tearing through the silence like a storm in the desert. Out of them stepped guards in crisp suits, followed by a frail, dying old man on a gold-handled cane, the billionaire no one ever saw, yet whose name was feared across nations. Chief Boko Adewale, a ruthless business magnate with empires in oil, gold, and blood. He was sick, they said, with months to live, and wanted to die far from the greedy hospitals and soulless machines, in the arms of nature. He had chosen their forgotten village for reasons no one knew, renting the only hilltop mansion with dollar bills that could have rebuilt the entire village thrice. But Nia's life changed when, while singing by the river for the spirit of her mother, she was overheard by the billionaire's driver. The next day, a stern-looking man came to her with a simple message. "The chief requests your presence. Bring your voice." Afraid yet curious, Nia followed, escorted up the hill like royalty, her bare feet brushing rich marble floors. Inside, the dying man lay on a cushioned bed, tubes removed, eyes sunken yet sharp. "Sing," he whispered, as if even words were too heavy for him. Nia's heart pounded, hands trembling, but she closed her eyes and sang. Her mother's lullaby, soft as the wind through the baobab trees. The moment her voice touched the air, something strange happened. The old man's breathing slowed. His eyes closed not in death, but in peace. And then every evening, 4 days, Nia was summoned again. She would sit beside him and sing, not just lullabies but songs of love, of childhood, of pain, of hope. And for the first time in his life, Chief Boko wept. In those moments, Nia saw something no one else did. Not a monster, but a man haunted by regrets, by the sons he buried, the wife he neglected, the enemies he made. He told her stories no one knew, whispered secrets while she sang. How he built empires by destroying villages like hers, how his soul was burdened by the curses of the poor. And yet, in Nia's voice, he said he heard forgiveness. Slowly, the entire village began to change. Food supplies flowed in, schools opened, wells dug, all at his command. The village that once starved now danced under moonlight. But the greatest mystery was the bond forming between the poor orphan and the dying billionaire. She would hold his hand, and he would smile like a father reunited with the daughter he lost. People began to whisper, maybe she's his blood, maybe a secret child. But Nia didn't care. She only knew that in his fragile presence, she found something she'd never had, a listener. Yet fate was not done weaving twists. One stormy evening, Nia arrived to sing, but the guards blocked her. "The chief is unconscious," they said. This might be his last night. Her heart shattered. Without a second thought, she pushed past them, dropped to her knees beside his bed, and through sobs she sang louder than ever, her voice piercing the heavens. And suddenly, as if summoned by the sound of heaven itself, the old man opened his eyes. "Nia," he croaked, clutching her wrist. "There is something I must give you before I go." And from beneath his pillow, he pulled out a dusty old photo, a woman with eyes like Nia's. "She was your mother, and she was my heart." Nia froze. Her breath caught. Was he saying what she feared? But before he could say more, his hand dropped, his chest stilled, and the room filled with the silence of death, broken only by Nia's shattered sobs. Yet what happened next shocked the entire world. The mansion was silent, so silent that even the night birds dared not sing, as if the world held its breath after the final exhale of Chief Boko Adewale. Nia remained kneeling beside his bed, her trembling fingers still clutching the photograph of the beautiful woman with kind eyes, the woman who looked exactly like her mother. Outside the room, the guards lowered their heads in solemn respect, but inside, the storm raged within Nia's heart. What had he meant? Was he truly saying her mother was the woman he loved? Was he saying he was her father? The next morning, the village awoke to the news that the billionaire had passed away in peace. His final days warmed by the voice of an orphan girl, the same girl whose lullabies had brought light to a dying heart. But as funeral preparations began, a convoy of lawyers and suits flooded the village. Men from the city, with briefcases full of secrets. They came not for mourning but for war, for inheritance, for assets, for the vast kingdom the old man had left behind. Yet none of them expected what came next. During the reading of the will, a hush fell over the room when the lawyer cleared his throat and read aloud. To the one whose voice soothed my dying soul, and whose eyes remind me of all I once loved, I leave everything. Gasps echoed. Her name is Nia. Papers dropped. Phones buzzed. Shockwaves spread across the country. A poor orphan girl had inherited one of Africa's largest fortunes. But Nia, sitting quietly in the corner, could barely hear the words. Her mind swam in confusion, her heart torn between grief, disbelief, and the haunting question, was this kindness, or truth? That night, she sat alone in the mansion's garden, clutching the photo, when an old housemaid approached, the only one who had served Chief Boko for over 40 years. He never stopped loving her, the maid whispered. Your mother. She was his one true love. They met when he was young and poor. She was a church singer in the village he visited. But his family forced him into a rich marriage. Your mother never told you because she wanted you to grow without bitterness. But he never forgot her. And when he found out he was dying, he traced her. Only to discover she had died giving birth to a child. Nia's tears flowed silently, her heart shattering anew. So it was true. She wasn't just a poor orphan girl. She was his daughter, a hidden legacy of love lost to time and pride. But the truth didn't bring comfort. Instead, it brought a storm. The billionaire's family, cousins, business partners, estranged relatives, erupted with rage. She's a fraud. She bewitched him. We'll fight this in court. But none of their screams could silence the truth. DNA confirmed it. Nia was indeed his daughter. And the world watched as a barefoot village girl stepped into a world of boardrooms, bodyguards, media lights, and millions of dollars. But she didn't forget. Not the village. Not her mother. Not the songs that brought her here. With her inheritance, Nia transformed her village. Schools were built, hospitals rose from dust, women were empowered, music academies opened where children could find hope through their voices. She renamed the hilltop mansion House of Grace, and turned it into a refuge for orphans, a place where no child would ever feel as forgotten as she once did. But wealth brought new battles. People tried to manipulate her. Journalists painted her as a gold digger. And loneliness often returned like an old friend. Until one day, while visiting the very riverside where she used to sing as a child, she heard a soft humming nearby. A voice, deep and rich, carrying sorrow and warmth. She turned to find a young man sitting on the rocks, sketching the landscape. His name was Elijah, an artist, a traveler, a man who had nothing yet saw beauty in everything. He didn't know who she was. He just smiled and said, "You sing like the wind remembers your voice." And for the first time since the billionaire died, Nia laughed. What started as a friendship blossomed into something deeper. Not built on money or legacy, but on music, truth, and soul. Elijah helped Nia remember who she was beyond the headlines. With him, she wasn't the billionaire's daughter. She was just Nia, the girl who sang lullabies under the stars. As the years passed, her story became legend. The orphan girl whose song healed a broken man, who rose from ashes and shared her fire with the world. And every evening, as the sun kissed the hills goodbye, Nia would sit beneath the same baobab tree, surrounded by children, and sing softly, songs of love, pain, and hope. Because though the billionaire had died, he left behind something no gold or mansion could measure, a daughter who turned grief into grace, and a voice that changed the world.